This is a story that I heard from my friend Tracy. I met Tracy when I was working in the US, and we discovered that mutually we had this common interest on supernaturals, ghosts, hauntings, things like that. It was really fun discussing about shared stories, heard stories, and also if there are any cultural differences or similarities between supernatural in her country, that is the US, and my country, that is India. Anyway, while we were discussing all of this, Tracy one day told me a very interesting story. And today I want to share with my viewers and my listeners this interesting story. I don't know what to call this story. I don't know if it is a ghost story, if it is a supernatural story, or it is something else. I leave it to you to decide. The story is sad. It does have a happy ending, but overall the story is quite sad. For the purpose of the story, we will call the main character John. John, in the year 2003, was working in the police force in a particular area or place in the US where the rate of crime was quite high. The main crime used to happen because of wars between rival gangs. He was a very honest, or he is still a very honest police officer. And also he was a loving father, a husband, and had a beautiful family with his wife and 2 kids, a son and a daughter. One fateful day in 2003, John lost almost his entire family. What happened was that his wife had gone out with the kids for, I think, to drop them to school or pick them up from school. I'm forgetting which one. And in that, she got caught in between a firefight that was happening between 2 rival gangs. And as unfortunate it could be, his wife was shot dead in the car while she was driving. The car swiped, and completely turned over. John's daughter was also dead with the mom. She was hurt very badly. His son survived but was in a very critical state. John was devastated. This tragedy almost broke him, but he still had his last hope, his son. So he sat with his son while his son was in critical care and he had gone into coma, hoping, praying that some miracle will happen and this child can be rescued. But God had other plans. In about 6 months' time, John's son also passed away. He never recovered from the coma. So John, in a matter of, 24 hours time, had almost lost his entire family. You can imagine what it can do to anybody, to any of us. From being a nice person, from being a happy person, from being a very, very dedicated person, John became a totally different human being. I can't blame him. John is Tracy's cousin, and she can't blame him either. Everybody understood his grief, his anger, his frustration. He couldn't do anything. He became vengeful. He started substance abuse and alcohol abuse. But nothing would give him peace. Such was the case that the department gave him leave, administrative leave, because he was not being able to perform while he was working. You understand, he was a policeman. So any kind of substance abuse or alcohol abuse or losing your mental peace or your mental state cannot be very conducive to the work. Plus, he had a firearm. They were very worried that he might just use it on himself. So they put him on rest, or they said they put him on kind of a downtime so that he could recover. They helped him through a lot of counseling and other helps that are required. But nothing was working with John. In his mind, he had taken this oath, I think, that he is going to kill all those people who were responsible for his daughter, his son, and his wife's death. But the problem is that there was no witness, and in a gang, people sometimes change gangs. A lot of things happen. I really don't know the working of a criminal gang, but I'm guessing that the lifespan of those people cannot be very long. And John did not have resources at that point of time, but he kind of was plotting and planning. After about 4 or 5 months, this is now we are in 2004, his boss and some of his colleagues, friends came and met him, and they started counseling him, mentoring him, talking to him, telling him, why don't you come back? Even if you don't want to do any active duty, but we can give you some work. Maybe you should do some work. Maybe for a change, you should try to do some work. And that might help you in terms of recovery. John listened to them passively. He did not answer. It took him another 6 months to kind of decide, yes, maybe he should go back to work, because one day he almost found himself staring at an abyss and he had no idea what to do. So he went back and he spoke to the people concerned, specifically his supervisor and his colleagues, and they were very, very happy to take him back. They were all rooting for him to get better, to find some purpose in life, because John was a very nice person, very honest person, very dedicated person, and he touched a lot of lives. So everybody wanted to help him. So the supervisor decided that John should be given a job that is not too intensive. That means he is not going to be a police officer or an inspector, going on investigations or being on patrolling on the roads. Instead, he posted John to look after the evidence room, to be in charge of the evidence room. With another person, John was in charge of the evidence room. But John had taken this job up not because he wanted to get better. And this is all have been told by John to Tracy. So it's not something that I'm making up or Tracy has made up. This is all John has said. That he took up the job because in his mind he understood that if he wanted revenge from the gangs, he needed access to police files. And he kind of went and used his goodwill with his colleagues and his supervisor to get a job where he would have access to files from where he could take the information to take his revenge. Anyway, things went on. He started working there, and I guess he also started making his list. He called it the D list or the death list for the people that he wanted to kill. He would do that in his free time, and otherwise he kind of more or less was a model worker. As this went on, from 2003, now we are in 2006. And John is still working, making his list sometimes. So John is working, making his list, and also planning how he is going to carry out his revenge. He's in a full-blowing Rambo mode. One day, he had an evening shift or a night shift. And while he was planning and plotting all of these things, because obviously you will understand that the evidence room was much cooler and calmer during the evening or night. It was almost late night. He went out to get something, I don't know what, and when he came back, he saw that there was this little girl. I mean, the girl would have been 12 or 13 years old, sitting on his desk. John was taken aback because, first of all, this was not in front of the police station. The evidence room is quite at the back. And nobody, until and unless you really know the workings of the police station, you will know where it is. So John was very surprised and he asked the girl, "Who are you? How did you come here?" The girl did not answer. She kept on smiling at him and dangling her feet. John was getting a little worried. He had no idea where she came from, if she was lost. His first instinct was to pick up the phone and call up the people, his sergeant or somebody, but then he wanted to talk to her. She seemed very familiar to him, but he couldn't place where he had seen her. He asked her again, "What is your name? What are you doing here? Why are you here so late? Where is your mom? Where is your dad? Are you all alone? Are you lost?" The girl started laughing, a very sweet laughter. And she said, "Oh, I've come to my dad. I'm not lost. I've come to my dad." So John said, okay. He thought that her dad might be working in the precinct. So he said, oh okay. Who is your dad? I'll bring you to your dad. The girl looked at him and said, "You are my dad." And she called John Pa. That's what John's daughter used to call him. Not dad, not daddy, not pops, but Pa. She said, "Pa, you did not. You forgot me, Pa. You did not recognize me." John was taken aback. He said, "Who are you?" The girl said, "Pa, I'm Mila." John got very angry. John said, "Little girl, this is not the time and the place for such a joke. Maybe you do not know, but I did have a little girl called Mila and I have lost her very tragically. Please tell me, where are your parents? I will bring you to them." The girl adamantly was sitting on the desk, stopped dangling her leg, looked very serious and said, "Pa, I am Mila. I have come back because you keep calling us. We are gone, Dad. You have to let us go." John was taken aback. First, how did this girl know that Mila used to call him Pa? And how did this girl know that yes, on a daily basis, all John did was want his family back. He actually was calling them back. If he could get them in any form, any shape, any size, he would take it. John couldn't believe his eyes, his ears, and he just didn't know what to do. At that point of time, the little girl told John, "Somebody's coming. I will see you later." She vanished. And right enough, there was somebody who came right around the corner wanting a file from John. John was very distracted. So the person said, "John, are you okay? Are you sleepy?" He said, No, I'm just having a little headache, so don't worry about me." After this incident, John's meeting with Mila continued over and over again. Now, you might ask that how come John did not recognize Mila? It's his daughter, his loving daughter, somebody whose photograph John sees daily. You see, when Mila died, Mila was about 8 years old or 9 years old. And the girl that John saw was around 13 years old. Faces change. Like I said, if you remember, John found the face very familiar, but he couldn't place her. Anyway, this meeting with Mila continued. Was Mila really there, or she was just a figment of John's imagination come to life? He wanted something so badly that he almost manifested someone or something. But you know what? This was good for John. The figment, the imagination, or whatever it was, started giving John purpose. John started changing slowly. He became less vengeful. He became less unfriendly. He became like his old self more and more as the days passed by. Yes, he did not tell people about Mila because he was very sure that people will not understand. But after about 2-3 years, when he had turned that corner and he had proved to everybody, his friends, his family, his colleagues, that he was now that old John that they used to know, they all wanted to know what happened. What did he do right? What was it that worked for him? He told everybody this story. He said that Mila comes and talks to me. She encourages me to do things. She helps me through. I don't think anybody could believe it. Tracy told me that, John is family, but we couldn't believe it. John would come home and tell us, oh, Mila is sitting there and she's saying this and she's asking about us this. Strangely, Mila knew everything. But then John also knew all of those things. So we don't know what it was. Whatever it was good for John. When I and Tracy were talking about this story, it was 2012. Almost 10 years from the time that John lost his family. John had turned a corner. He had met a nice, lovely lady and he was seeing her. He had lost his home because he could never return to his home where he lived with his wife and kids. So he and his new girlfriend were looking for a house. They were planning to move in together. So John had turned a leaf. And Mila was still there in his life, encouraging him, rooting for him on every step of the way. So guys, what was it? Or what is it? I don't know if Mila is still with John or if she has moved on after seeing John settled. All I know is now that John is, happily married and has another kid with his new wife. But I don't know if Mila is still with him. But what was this? Who was Mila? Was it just part of John's figment of imagination? Or Mila really came to save her dad from the abyss that John had fallen into? I leave it to you. Thank you very much for listening. If you like such tales, please subscribe, comment, like and share on HaanaTales. Stay well, stay safe. Bye-bye. Please subscribe to our channel HaanaTales. Comment, share, like and don't forget to hit the notification bell for more videos.